So now we just finished the last step with the wood glue. Our hands maybe will have a little bit of glue on them, but as I said, water just washes that off. This is a bucket. We filled it up with our hose. Perfectly fine. We'll just rinse our hands in there. Make sure that all the glue comes off. Because for this next step, we want to make sure everything just fits right. And if the screw is sticking to our hands, that's no good. So that's good. There we go. You don't really need to dry your hands. I mean, it's just water. Water won't kill you. But for the next bit, we need a drill. And for a drill, we need a power supply. And for a power supply, we need somewhere to plug it in. So right over here, Kenny's getting the extension cord ready. And so he's just bringing it out. That part goes into the drill, the other part goes into the house. Bye. So now I'll plug in the drill right there. You see it?
Yes.
What is that? It's not even plugged in. I mean, you may want to dry your hands after they're wet and using electricity. Never a bad idea to do that, but it's fine. So now we're going to talk about what our next step is. So, for this next step, we're going to be putting in some screws. I currently don't know where they are at the moment.
They're inside.
They're inside.
Okay, so Kenny, with the hustle, is going to go get those. Meanwhile, I'm going to talk about these. These are called drill bits, and what we're going to do is we're going to drill out part of the wood to make a pilot hole for the screw, so that way it's not as hard to put the screw in there. It's not going to be easy either. It's not just going to fall out. It's just going to make a little hole that's smaller than the diameter of the screw, just so that it's easier to put the screw in, so that the B-box is better.
And
These are 3/32 of an inch. So it's a little bit bigger than a 16th. A little bit. Just by
it's a floating ant.
1/32. Now Andrew's using his magic, but here we go. So here are our screws. They're number 4 by 1.5 inches. So that means they're 1/2 inch long. And that is perfect because this is a 1/4 inch, so after they go through a 1/4 inch here, they can go through a 1/4 inch of the rest to help make sure everything's going together. There are screws. We got 2 drill bits. Andrew, pick a hand. Okay, looks like we're going to use this or the other one over there. Okay, so now we'll just adjust it to fit the size of this drill bit. There are loads of different sizes of drill bits. This is not the only one. You can get them at Lowe's, Home Depot, online, you know, anywhere at a hardware store. Make sure the power is good. So now, if you remember, this was the side we glued last. So that means that the other side has had a longer time to glue. So we'll start with that one. There it is. Okay. So, when we're putting in the screws, which are right here, we're just going to use a screwdriver. That's another thing with the pilot holes. You don't really need to drill them in because of the pilot holes. You can just screw them in. This is a Phillips head. It fits in nicely there. So here we go. This time we're actually going to take off the tape completely. So we'll start off here. Here, let's start over here. Start over here. Now this is actually a little bit tricky. You got to think about this for a second. So for the sides, hold on. So if you see here, this is one part, that's another part. We're gonna put 2 screws here, okay? Because 3 would be a little overkill because we do have wood glue, but 2 is a nice number. We'll put this there. If Andrew could come over here to help me hold down the B-box, I can start drilling. And you gotta keep in mind that on your first try of this, the drill bit may go through the side. That's fine. At the end, you can just cover it with duct tape so no light gets through. But other than that, we can start. So I'm just gonna line it up there. That looks good. I'm just gonna look if you have a leveler on your drill. That's awesome. You don't need to do it super fast. Come on. There we go, that's pretty easy. Put in our screw in the hole. Take our trusty screwdriver. And we screwed in. These are wood screws, so there is a difference. So make sure that when you're getting your screws, you know which ones you're getting. And when you're screwing in the screw, you want to make sure you don't do it too tight because you can actually break the wood.
Or strip the screw.
Or strip the screw because the screws are not particularly strong. I'll be right back and I'll show you actually what will happen if you do it too hard. Okay, I'm back. And if the cameraman will zoom in a little bit, right there, you can see that I screwed a little bit too hard. It actually broke the wood, and I think it happened one other place too. And if that happens, you can just put a little wood glue in there. You can see it there too, how there's like a little bump there and a crack. So just make sure that you do it at a nice steady pace. You don't want your wood breaking. Okay, so that was the one we made yesterday. We'll move on to the next one. And as I said, we only need 2 here. It's okay if you go through, but try not to. So that looks good. Looking at my leveler. Okay, so now Andrew likes to move the sawdust out of the way. I don't, so, but both ways work because I like seeing the sawdust there. I mean, it's pretty cool. And also, sometimes it can clog the hole if your hole's not that deep. So now I'll just screw this in here. Make sure these are tight enough. That is good. So, and we're done with this part. So now we're just gonna move over here to this part. Take the tape off permanently now. Okay, so we're gonna be drilling here. Now, I like to turn it around because I like the closer corner to be facing me. It's just my preference, you don't need to do that. And now I'm just gonna make another pilot hole. So I'm gonna try to make it right. Got some wood in our drill bit. And you may need to let your drill bit cool off a little, because sometimes it just gets a little hot. Maybe you put it in there too long. A lot of different things can happen, but if it does get hot, don't touch it. Leave it alone for a few seconds and it'll cool down.
Usually after every pallet hole it does get hot.
Yeah, it does get hot. So, because of all the friction that it's creating. We'll just drill it now. So now, watch what happens. Andrew's not going to move the sawdust. And I'm going to put it in like that. You're doing it. That's the angle I want you And you don't want to drill too close to the edge because that can also break the wood. Especially if you're close to the edge, you don't want to go do too hard. There we go, that's good. I just moved the sawdust out of the way. Everything works. Now we just need to do one more screw here.
And the reason why, so on this side we're going to do 4, but on this side we're going to do 3 because this hole for the partition is here.
And that thus there are 2 pieces, but here there's only 1, so we don't need that many screws. So I'm glad Andrew mentioned that, because that is important, because if you put in too many screws and you're making a lot of different prototypes, that 2 extra screws, if you're making 10, it could make 20 screws that you're wasting. And it only takes, I think, 14 screws, so you could actually save that and make an entire extra V-box. There we go. Put in the screw. Okay, there we go. We got 4 screws in a nice line. It's not going to come out. So now we'll move on to the other side. And as Andrew was saying, we only need 3 on this side. So we'll permanently take off the duct tape. And if you see here, it wasn't perfectly lined up when it was glued. Right there. But you do need to make a correction for that, because if you drill in the same place, you may actually go through instead of, you'll see what I mean. So I'm gonna have to adjust to what happened and try to work with it. Maybe a little bit too close to the edge, and if I do crack this, that happens.
We just use liquid glue and we'll fix it.
Just put on some
Cover it up with duct tape.
And you cover the duct tape. Everything gets fixed by duct tape. So I've had a lot of repetitions at doing this. If it's your first it's your first time doing this, and you do crack it, like Andrew and I said, and Kenny as well, it's fine. Just put some wood glue in it, try it again, duct tape it. Think of something cool that will fix it. It's not a big deal. Okay, that's good. So, we only need 3 on this side, so now we'll do the middle one. So, doesn't need to be perfectly in the middle, but if you need it to be in the middle, you don't really need it to be in the middle, but if you want it to be in the middle, where's the pencil? You can mark it here. You can put your triangle on, mark it there. And you know that you're going to have to be drilling right there, and then after you finish, you can just erase it. Like that. It is a pencil. So, we'll drill on that line. I do have a little bit of wood and a drill bit. Figure that out. Take our screw. Andrew's leaving, so you can say bye to Andrew. Okay. So now, as we said, it's a pencil. So Kenny will be erasing that line we made with the pencil. And we're going to be covering with duct tape anyway to make it look cool, so you don't need to erase it, but if you want to, you can. So now I just have this last one to do on the face. So, I can do it on fine. I will... And it helps to have a partner or two while you're doing this, because there's some things where it works a lot easier and it's a better build when you're doing it with another person or two. So we'll just screw this in here like this. Okay. That face is complete. And that's the left face. So that's good. So now we need to do the right face. I like starting with the side that has the top. So I'll just peel the duct tape off permanently. Put it on the ground. Just pick this up. Saving the environment if you do that. Don't want that to end up in the ocean, do you? Even though we're in Vermont, there's rivers and lakes. Last year the project was Trash Trick. We made a video game about how to sort waste properly so that there would be less waste in the landfill, like food in the landfill, because where does food go? It goes in the compost. So we made a video game to help people learn about sorting waste. That was pretty cool. So as you can see, this is actually pretty hot. Some of the wood is brown. It's hot to the touch. So as I said, let it cool down, and while we put in the screw, that will definitely be enough time for it to cool down for the next pilot hole. And as I was saying, last year, our game, we made it to we got the Global Innovations Award. We went down to Washington, D.C. That was really fun. I didn't go, but from what I've heard, it was really fun because Damon and I were playing baseball. And that video game we made is called Sorta Scrappy. It's on the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. It's fun. Hope you learned something. Give it a look. It's pretty cool. Now getting back to the bee box. As I think I heard Kenny saying earlier, this is to help people be less afraid of bees, so that if people are less afraid of bees, they'll do more to help bees so that there will be more bees, because so many bees are dying right now, for example, because of the varroa mite, because of global warming, weather, habitat loss. There's just so many things that are happening to bees, and if people were less afraid of them and they cared more about bees, then that would actually be a big help to the world, I think, because 1/3 of the food we eat is how do I say this? 1/3 of the food we eat has been pollinated by bees. So if you think about that, think if 1/3 of the food we eat was gone, just gone, the rest of the food that we had would mean that there would be less of it, less food overall. So more people are coming into our planet each year and each day, not every minute. So there would be less food if it weren't for bees. And that could become a world crisis. I'm taking that a little bit over the top. It's the kind of person I am. And you don't want the drill to be on when you put it down, because if it like hits the duct tape or something, that's not good. So just let it turn off. I mean, it'll be fine.
I'm gonna do one more
Yeah. So as Andrew and Kenny and I were saying earlier, on this because we're using the top face and we have the two front face and the two top faces, they're going to be using 4 screws here. Okay, so there we go. Now I have just 1 left, and then we move on to the bottom where we have 3, and that should finish up this step. This is going to be one of the longer steps. Definitely cutting the wood takes a long time. Lexan. And the Lexan probably takes the longest. And as I was saying earlier, it helps if you have a person or two that's helping you with this, because I may not always know when to stop the drill. I may go too far, shatter the wood, have to do it all over again. But if you have someone that's helping you, like Kenny, he's my friend, he can tell me when to stop. I pull the drill out, everything works. Screw the screw in, and you're done.
I'm going too far. And going too far is not a huge deal. It just makes it easier to get the screw in. If you go too short, you're just going to have to make the pilot hole a little bit deeper.
Yeah, but even if you go a little bit too far, nothing bad will happen. But if you think about it being hollow, it probably will be a little bit weaker. So you don't want to have too much space, just enough so that the screw can go in, maybe a tad bit more. So now we're doing this last part. And you can really see the RB box is coming together. This is the partition. That's not fitting.
Probably because of the glue.
That could be the glue. We can always trim this a little bit. With a table saw, with a normal saw. You can sand it. You can use a different material. But one of the things is that you do want it to be in the B-box when you're gluing. We didn't do that because last time we did that, it got stuck. That was a big hassle to get out. But let's just finish doing this, and then we can think about that. Okay, here we go. Working on one of the last 3 screws. I mean, it's not a big deal if you have wood in your drill bit. Just take it out. Everything will be okay.
But also sometimes leaving wood in the drill bit can help the person who's watching, because they can see how far you went in the time before, and once that disappears, they know that it's good.
That is definitely true what Kenny just said. I hadn't been thinking about that. So maybe if you have someone that's helping you, if they prefer to have the wood in, don't take it out. Keep it in there, because it's definitely a big help, just like Kenny said. And I hadn't even thought about that. So if you want to, here we go, we're doing the middle one again. You don't need to do this. I don't not like this. I don't like this. I don't care. I don't have an opinion about doing this. I'm going to take an extra second. It doesn't even matter if it's not in the middle. You just don't want it to be like right next to another screw, just so that they're spaced well. There we go. That's good. We can erase it when we're done. We'll line it up there. And we'll start screwing, or drilling. That's it. When you're drilling, you always want to have a hand supporting the box. 'Cause yesterday, he who shall not be named let the box go, and it started flying around the drill. It was crazy. So you always got to keep a hand on the box just to make sure nothing gets out of hand. There we go. That's good. Just one more. This is actually coming together pretty nicely. But if you can see, there is this bottom part sticking out a little bit. That's fine. This is the back face, so it just needs to be aligned perfectly. Now that's aligned really well. So, just one more screw left. Here we go. So also, if you don't know what your friend is going to say that's holding the box, Kenny, would you like me to take the wood out of the drill bit, or do you want me to leave it in?
I prefer at least at the top it to be in, just so it's easier to see.
So, it doesn't matter. That's going to take forever just to get the top in, so I'll just leave the whole thing in. I don't have a preference. So here I go. Now we're just screwing in our last screw here before this step is completed. So there you have it. It's the frame of our V-Box. It's put together nicely. I can put my arm through it. We have the slot there that things can go into, like that. We'll file this down a little bit so that it can fit in. So other than that, that's pretty awesome. And then we'll attach the hinge and the Lexan, and that's the next step. So this is the end of this step. So thanks for watching this one.